Yeah, good morning, everybody, and thanks again for joining us for another webinar series on the reimagining the future people's agenda for a post-COVID economy. And this has been a part of a larger process to initiate debates on the alternate economy while also addressing the immediate needs. And this is a collective effort of civil society organizations, people's movements, trade unions, and networks. The series is an outcome of attempting to answer the question, what now? As most of the adverse impacts of the crisis that is faced by the people and especially the most vulnerable is not only because of the health crisis, but a crisis of the neoliberal capitalist structure. Hence, this attempt to see if we can collectively ideate and maybe start the conversations of building a new world. So, thanks again to all our speakers for joining us. Just some housekeeping instructions for Zoom. So, we request everybody to keep your microphones on mute all the time. And participants can send in your questions through the chat box. Please type in your questions, or if you want to make a comment, or even if you want to speak, when we'll get back to you. Hindi translation is available for participants. To listen to the Hindi discussion, please select the French option and mute the original audio in the language interpretation option in Zoom. A detailed guideline for this is also available, has been made available to all the participants. And this is also a time where CFA and this entire collective is calling out for volunteers to help us in transcription and make sure these the outcome of these series has a wide outreach. So please look up the CFA website and join in as volunteers or interns. And we request all our speakers and moderate, and I will be moderating, but let's go a little slow so that it's easy for the translators to translate. So for today's theme for reimagining the future people's agenda for a post-COVID economy, this is the 7th webinar in the series. And the theme for today is about frontline workers, claims, reality, and future. Despite all the effort over the last 3-4 decades, we continue to see manual scavenging in all our cities. And this is despite the ban since 2013. And solid waste workers continue to clean our cities without proper PPE in place, and again, work in very inhuman conditions. In my own neighborhood, every morning I see the solid waste worker without gloves, without any protective gear, not even a mask, who handles all the solid waste just by his hand. And then we are continuing to see our nursing staff and paramedics work 24/7, again in very inhuman conditions, exposing themselves to the virus, leaving behind their families. Many nurses, in fact, have very small children. They've not been able to see their children for a long time now. And, you know, they're putting themselves right there in front to protect and take care of those who are really, really, really sick. And then we have the Anganwadi workers who had been working again in very inhuman conditions. They weren't getting proper pays. It wasn't even considered a pay. It is considered a commission-based thing. And now they've been pushed into doing extra work during the COVID crisis, especially during the lockdown. They've had to go house to house, finding out details if people have been sick, if people have symptoms of fever, cough, and other things, to get a sense of if there are COVID patients all around. And this they are doing from morning 7 to afternoon 2 o'clock. I was talking to the Anganwadi worker who came to our neighborhood again, and she was saying they get just 1,000 rupees and nothing else besides the 4,000 that they used to get every month. So when people are working in such inhuman conditions, they're pushed to doing these kind of things. They're also exposing themselves not just to the virus, but also to a whole lot of abuse and harassment in the cities. We saw what happened to the Anganwadi and the ASHA workers in Bangalore, how they were harassed and abused. So in this context, today we have four great speakers, people who've been working in this sector for a very long time. So we have Bezwada Wilson, Laxmi Narayanan, Rince Joseph, and Veena Gupta. I'll briefly introduce each of them to you right now. So Bezwada Wilson is an Indian activist. Most of us know him, and he's been one of the founders of the national convener of the Safai Karamchari Andolan. Which has been a human rights organization that has been campaigning against the eradication of manual scavenging for a very long time now. And also in the areas of construction, operation, and a whole lot of practices that manual scavenging have been, scavengers have been pushed to since 1993. And his work at the SKA, which is a community-driven organization, was recognized by the Ashoka Foundation, which nominated him as a senior fellow. And he was more recently honored with the Raman Magsaysay Award in 2016. So thank you, Bezwada Wilson, for joining us in this webinar. Then we have Laxmi Narayanan, who has been working with the waste pickers in Pune, and since 1989, she has been one of the key founders of the Kagad, Patra, Kashtakari Panchayat, a 10,000 strong member-based trade union of Pune, engaged in empowerment, advocacy, and mainstreaming of the most marginalized communities. She has also helped found Swachh, which is India's first autonomous cooperative of waste pickers, offering front-end waste management services to Pune citizens. Then we have Rince Joseph, who is the president of the United Nurses Association, Delhi, and he will definitely throw a lot of light to what is happening to the frontline nursing staff today. And then we have Veena Gupta, who is the National Secretary of the All India Federation of Anganwadi Workers and Helpers. She's also the General Secretary of the ASHA Workers Union in UP and the State President of the Anganwadi Association in UP again. So thank you, each of you, for your time. As a format, each of you will get 15 minutes to talk. Following which we will take questions. Questions will come through the chat box, but my colleagues will bunch it together based on the themes, and then we will take the questions one by one. Those of you who really want to speak, we would request you to raise your hand or put it in the chat box saying you have a feedback or a comment, and we'll get back to you. So thank you everyone once again, and over to Mr. Rince Joseph, because he has to leave a little earlier. He will speak to us and then leave. So over to Mr. Rince. Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning to all. Thank you very much for having us in this platform. And we, United Nurse Association, we are the largest trade union among nurses around the globe because right now the crisis is very terrible situation is going, the country is facing, the world is facing. And especially we are talking about Delhi, Maharashtra, Mumbai and all. The day by day, the healthcare workers are becoming positive. So that is a great alarming, there is a very dangerous situation because the healthcare workers are getting positive. Once they are going to the quarantine, so the number of people who are working, that will be reducing. Then the nearby future, the patient nurses ratio will be going in a terrible situation, and how the country is going to face that we don't know. So we must have to think seriously. Already the decision has to be taken very late in our country. We need a massive action rather than waiting for the calamity to engulf our cities and our lives. And of course, the economy is down, we know. But at the same time, the existing healthcare system must be strengthened very well without any further delay. Otherwise, there will not be any health workers is left over in all the hospitals, even in public healthcare, even the private healthcare system. So that is what the very dangerous situation we all are coming through. Because wherever we reach to the hospital, there will be need a sufficient number of health workers to be looking after the general public. So that is why my very very strong this thing statement is the government has to be taken. And another thing is, these days, the last 2 days, there are the nurses are getting nurses and health workers are dying with the COVID. The two nurses, they were died in Delhi. One is Sister Ambika PK, 46 years old lady, and Rajamma, she is also around 50 years old lady, and they both are working in a particular hospital more than 10 years, and one is in 15 years they were working, and because of COVID they died, and no help has been reached to their family. And the state and the central government was announced some packages, and nothing has to be taken place from the government. This is a very pathetic condition our country is going on. As there are so many MPs who have written a letter to this CM and the Prime Minister, but there is no package. The package is announced in front of the media. That's it. But reality is the people who are suffering or undergoing the COVID, because of COVID only they both have died. But no one got their any relief from the government. So this is the pathetic situation. We have to act very fast, because otherwise this calamity will engulf this country. Even though the death rate the mortality rate is less compared to other countries, we have to strengthen our existing healthcare system. Otherwise, we will be facing nearby future. We will be facing not nearby. Now itself, we are facing the very pathetic situation. So that is what I wanted to pursue again and again. The existing healthcare system, existing healthcare providers must be strengthened. That is the first priority of the government. Otherwise, economy and all other things are whatever the things is going to be in vain. Because training and creating a new healthcare system, it's not possible as if now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rince. We have a couple of questions. Since you have to leave early, we will take some of the questions addressed to you. So one of the first questions is, how do you think things can change? And do you have any ideas or demands as of now that can be made to the authorities?
We have the demands, because day by day we are hearing the news of nurses are dying with the COVID-19. So we have the demand to the government that the hospital, not only in the biggest corporate hospital, the small hospital, the government the authority has to do the inspection, quick inspection, to find out whether they have been providing the proper PPE. Because we can able to hear from the nurses, they are using the PPE, the reusable PPE. What is happening around in our country? The reusing PPE they were using, and they were giving a mask, N95 mask, and say that you have to wash and use for a month. What is happening? So this is very ridiculous. So the government should have some kind of authority to check, and every hospital have sufficient PPE, which is ICMR approved PPE they are giving to the employees. They have to make sure. That is a first demand.
And another comment that has come in is, Mamta Gautam says, the common people do not get to know the problems and how can we help? Which is very true, because not much of the media is covering what is happening to the frontline workers. There are very few articles on paramedics or nurses compared to the stories that we heard in the US or in Italy and other places. So one that I would add to the question is, why is it that we are not hearing more stories, and how can people help?
So the thing is, the common people doesn't know much about it because they were listening in the media and all. But in as per the healthcare point of view, as from the healthcare professional, we have to take care of ourselves rather than going around and teaching. See, teaching others is very fine, but I will tell you one thing: those who are COVID, those who the healthcare providers, those who are assigned and they are working in the COVID area, they are not getting positive. But those who are in the other transient area, they are becoming positive. That is a very tricky thing we couldn't understand. That means those who are taking care of COVID patients, they are not becoming positive. Those who are not taking care of COVID positive patients, those who are away from the COVID patient, they are becoming positive. That means those who are not, those who are away from the COVID positive patients, they are not following the no touch policy. They are not taking care of themselves. And for the message to the common man, so you should understand, you should consider that everybody, those who are coming around you, they all are positive. You should treat them, everyone like that. Everyone is positive. That is a message I wanted to give to all the common man. Then only we can continue the outbreak of the community outbreak. Because recently what happened in one of the hospital in Dwarka, in Delhi, in Venkateshwara hospital, there are few health workers got positive. So immediately what management did, the authority came and sealed the hostel. What they did, they remove all the people to a nearby apartment, they provide the accommodation. So that is another source of community spread. So we should not do this kind of foolishness, because that will be another outspread of other people too. So we should be vigilant, and we should isolate them. Those who are positive, we should isolate them strictly. That is the only way we can find out and we can at least control the situation.
There's a question from Maju. So Maju says, what are the questions on wage standards and working hours? And what about the smaller hospitals? What is happening there? And there have been some protests by hospital workers for better protective equipments and so on. And I would like to add that, we did read a newspaper article where doctors were provided a certain kind of hotel facility, whereas paramedics and nurses were asked to go to a different kind of a facility, obviously not up to the mark of what was being given for the doctors. So how do we address that? That has been a major problem. And another thing is, what is a day like for a nurse? And after working for a week, do they get some break, or what is the kind of exposure the nurses are exposed to on a daily basis? Are there any protocols that the nurses follow on a day-to-day basis?
See, we are talking about the bigger hospital, like corporate hospital. They are being taking care of their employees in a better way compared to the small hubs. If you're talking about the small hubs, they have been provided, improper PPE, substandard PPE kit to the nurses, and they are not being giving a proper standard of this quarantine facility. They are not following at all, and the normal day of a nurse is terrible. You can say that terrible, because where they are in the biggest hospital or the small hubs, there is no difference, because wearing a PPE, wearing this N95 mask itself is a big burden. And just imagine the person who is wearing the PPE and so much of layers, and inside they are sweating like anything, and because they are not providing any AC or any fan, and it is terrible. And the majority of the females are nurses. They're losing their skin. The skin got rashes, and so much of terrible situation in a day when they finish their duty, when they just go to the house and they just falling down on the bed. And that is a terrible situation, I could say, about and many of the people are getting positive, and most of them are falling on sick. So this is an alarming and terrible situation in a normal daily routine of the nurse. And there will be a protocol, what has to be done, what has to be not done. But majority of the hospital, the private sectors, they are not following because of their business. Again, that is a business. The private sector, this COVID positive, this area, again, they're considered as how to improve their revenue and their business.
So as per the protocol, for how long can one nurse continue to be exposed to COVID patients? Is there any?
So normally their protocol is keep on changing. One day they were saying that's 14 days, then 7 days. So latestly they're saying that 7 days, then after that you have to take 3 days. Somebody is saying that 1 day. So keep on changing, and they don't have even they are not sticking to particular protocol, and they keep on changing as per the, and they're saying that no need to come for the hospital. When you are becoming a positive, you can be home quarantine, and you can call to your tele doctor. Then you can ask what are the medicine to be taken, and you can bring the door delivery of the medicines. So terrible situation. That means there is uniformity or any particular protocol is being followed.
Then we have Himanshu Damle, who's asking how critical is the situation for ward boys and those working in the mortuary. Media absolutely does not mention them. There have been absolutely no stories on that. So it'll be great if you can throw some light on that.
Oh yes, definitely, because those who are the ward boys, they were working in the mortuary. They've been facing a terrible situation, because once upon getting a PPE kit is a Herculean task. See, if they're denying the ward boys and the ground level workers, if they're denying to do without any PPE, what to do? So they're supposed to do with what is the available things, what is available PPE kit they were wearing, what is the available mask they have. Even they don't have, even the N95 is providing to them. So in the small hubs, that is a real scenario. That is a very pathetic scenario, because once they're denying, we want a PPE, proper PPE to handle the dead bodies, or we want a proper this thing, because there is no sufficient this PPE kit or sufficient equipped well in the small hubs. So small hubs, the housekeeping and the ward boys also are working in the ground line is a terrible situation they are going, and they are not being getting any support from any corner of the society. That is a truth.
There is another question which says, are the numbers of the affected people underreported?
It is a very tricky question, because the people are saying that, because when I have seen that there is a app was launched, and this app, the Delhi government was showing that how many people are free. But many of the hospital, you're seeing that the bed is available in the app, but when you go physically, there is no bed is available. And the same like how many death is happened and how many death is really happened, there is a very huge difference. Under-reporting in the sense, I have listened to what is the Delhi Chief Minister was saying the other day in the media, the hospitals are not reporting. I don't understand what is the tricky thing behind this, because as per the protocol, within 24 hours, the report has to be going, any mortality report within 24 hours in any particular hospital, that is for ages, they were reporting to the MCDs. Then where is the delay is happening? Where MCD is not delaying, updating in the system, or the government is, what is the communication gap, and why the delay is happening, we don't know. Because nobody can hide any mortality, any death, nobody can hide any mortality. But the reporting, the platform, because the hospital, as per the rules and regulation, the hospital is informing to the mortality to the MCD. The MCD has to upload in the system or what. That is a big confusion.
And then we also saw a lot of, social media messages of what happened. One particular case in Gujarat, where they gave the wrong body to the family, and the family did the last rites. But the next day, it was followed by a phone call saying your family member is recovering and he is fine. So what do you have to say as a person who's working in there? Is there so much confusion inside hospitals? Would you like to say something about that?
See, the thing is now the scenario is much better, but at least the identification is there. But the coming future, so we must be vigilant enough to avoid such a scenarios. What happened in Gujarat? What you say? So right now we have enough communication. We have at least, but in coming future, it may be very worsen in this kind of situation if they are not keeping any identification mark or something like that. The things can be much more worsen.
And there is a question on when do you think the COVID-19 vaccine will come to India?
So that God knows, I cannot say.
And Leo asks a question, have any nurses association filed a criminal complaint against the government for exposing nurses to risk to life?
Actually, well, we have filed this thing in the Delhi High Court, proper PP, and in the Supreme Court we filed this thing about the proper PP. They are not providing a normal, proper equipments and social security and all. But criminal things were not at all came. So I don't understand what is the background of criminal. But we have filed in Supreme Court and the Delhi High Court and many other High Court as well regarding. And one other thing is we would like to say happily from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we United Nurse Association, we could make a chartered flight to bring 170 adults and 17 kids from all the nurses from Riyadh to India. That is the first flight is coming, the chartered flight. So we could make it that because people are in outside India, the nurses, especially the pregnant ladies and the lactation mothers, they wanted to come. That is one of our achievement. And the 7, they are coming from Saudi Arabia to India.
And what about the discrimination that the frontline workers are facing in residential colonies? We've heard stories of how landlords have asked them to leave their houses. They're not allowed in certain apartment complexes. So would you like to share something about that?
Yeah, because in the beginning, it was not much problem, but later on, for example, like in Apollo Hospital and all, the people are saying in Sarida Vihar area, when the nurses are coming, they have the fee, not in the landlords and all, they were saying that after they are going, they are cleaning with all the soap and water, they're cleaning their, this thing. When they're coming, they're just doing kind of a puja kind of things. So, and in the Sarida Vihar area, in the shops and all, they were not at all giving the things to the nurses. When the nurses are coming, they say they have sara saman khatam ho gaya. Then after that, they were another time uske baad bolte aap log saman hai nahi hai. The social security, social isolation was very badly affected the nurses around the city, everywhere. बहुत उसमें हमको प्रॉब्लम हुआ है क्योंकि not only landlord, बाकी सारा एरिया में हमको सामान भी नहीं मिल रहा था जैसा फीलिंग एंड मेनी ऑफ द गाड़ी भी नहीं रुकेगा क्योंकि the people are coming from the hospital, they came to know the terrible situation everywhere the people are facing even now.
And so the next question is, how do you think the public or civil society organizations can help this situation? What are those things that we can do to ease whatever is happening, not just to nurses, but I think also to paramedics?
See, the public and the paramedic, and we have so many eminent personalities in the society. So immediately, we should not wait for another. Already the calamity arrives, and we are talking and we are giving a press conference and all those things is very good. But the thing is, we should understand how many ventilators we have, how much of equipments we have, and how many health workers we have. So start doing good things for the strengthening of the existing health worker, That is what I am saying again and again, because once the things are going in a very high range, the positive rate is going high, and we know that we have geriatric patients rates are very high in our country, and we cannot just leave them. They're all our grandfathers and grandmothers, and how we can just leave them and we can just sit like that. I launch an app and I can just I done my job and I can sit in just and see the app application, how many patients are coming up. So no, we cannot do that. So we have to taking care of our mothers who and those who are having a very high and those who are immunity less. And even last 2 days back, there was 2 nurses were died. They were not having any other comorbidity. They don't have any other diseases. All of a sudden, they got corona. And one nurse was Ambika. She was admitted in 22nd of this month in the Safdarjung Hospital, and 24th, all of a sudden, she got expired. So the cases are showing us, and it is teaching us a lesson that we must act massive. We need a massive action to strengthen the existing staff, and simultaneously we have to we have to make a pool of staff to maintain and manage the coming crisis if it is going to be worse. Anyway, the graph is showing that it is going to be worse.
And then we have a question about Delhi. So the question is, in Delhi, do you think, is it the MCD that is responsible to release the death figures of Corona?
Yes, MCD, because as per my little knowledge, every death within 24 hours, the death is informed to the MCD. So the MCD has to release the death rates of Corona, because anywhere the Panchayat, any death is coming, any birth or death is informing to that particular Panchayat. The same like in Delhi, the MCD. So the MCD has to release the death. That will be more accurate, because nobody can hide any death.
And then we have Minal, who's asking a question. What are some of the steps that PHCs and local government hospitals need to take to brace against the onslaught that may happen with lifting of lockdown measures? How can communities around the local hospitals help? So now that the lockdown has been lifted, and life seems to be normal everywhere, at least in Bangalore, everything looks so normal. So I'm sure cases will come up, and the same thing is going to happen in rural areas as well. So what do you think are those things that need to be done immediately with PHCs and other hospitals?
So the only thing I can say that everybody take care of themselves. Every individual should take care of. That's all. Because if you start teaching and making the isolation, see, when the lockdown is lift off, and the things are coming in a normal way, so then the things are again, the spreading will be more. Nobody can control the spreading. The community outspread is already there, and it will be spreading and it will be spreading, and the people are saying that we have to live with Corona. How will we live with Corona? So we have to control. Control is very important things. Every individual citizen in the country should think about it, how to control, and what I have done for my safety, what I have done for my family. Then only it will be, because any changes is coming from an individual, and the best practices is coming from individual, that the family follows, then the society follows. That's how it becomes.
Yeah, I think we've come to the last question. That was the last question. So if you have anything else to share with all of us today, any message, any particular demand that you would like to make to the government, I think this is the forum where you can share that.
So our demand is the government should do a quick inspection to all the small hubs of private hospitals, whether they need to check that whether they have adequate PPE. It is ICMR approved proper PP they have, or they were using the reusable ones. That is very, very important things. Otherwise, again, these kind of nurses, the healthcare providers, the mortality will increase, and they must understand that they must have that quick check and do all the maximum work for the strengthening the existing healthcare system. This is the two demands we have to do in front of the governments. The audit is very important.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And we don't have any more questions right now for you, but I'm sure questions will come up later. But I understand you have to leave. So thanks once again on behalf of everybody for joining us and making time for this webinar and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
We could request Laxmi Narayanan to take over from here and start her sharing of her thoughts. Lakshmi.
Okay, so I just want to start with raising, a point which I'm sure everyone is aware of, that when we talk about how waste pickers or workers, informal sector workers in waste have been impacted right now, one needs to recognize that waste pickers or waste workers are not one big homogeneous group. There are layers and layers of waste workers. There are itinerant waste pickers who are, for the most part, in many parts of India and outside, unrecognized as workers. They don't have any form of identity, recognition. They're largely invisible. They are recognized by the sacks they carry, and because they walk around on the streets collecting waste from the bins. There are also many layers of semi-formal workers who have some kind of a relationship with the municipality or with citizens whose waste they collect. And then there are the slightly more formal waste workers. There are also municipal workers who are handling waste. I must also say that the situation in Pune is slightly different. Pune does have a fairly strong waste pickers union, which does have all these members. It's not as if the typology of waste pickers has changed and there's only a single type of waste picker in Pune. All these categories still do exist. But their situation also is very different. So depending on the type,
just a little request. Can you go a little slow because
sure,
we are translating it? Yeah, thank you.
So there are some waste pickers who, so Pune has a trade union called Kagad, Patra, Kashtakari Panchayat, which is 25 years old, which organized waste pickers to establish that the work waste pickers do is not only providing them with a meal and ensuring their families survive, but it's playing a significant role to both reducing municipal solid waste handling costs and to protecting the environment, because waste pickers are responsible for diverting up to 20-25% of recyclables from the landfill. Therefore, they extend the life of the landfill, and they also actually reduce transportation and processing costs of the municipality. But it also means that there are two systems literally working in parallel with each other: a formal system which the urban local body or the municipality runs, and then the informal system where waste pickers are involved. In Pune, that gap has been bridged somewhat. There is a cooperative of waste pickers called Swachh, which comprises largely waste pickers who are also members of the trade union, who, instead of collecting waste from the streets and landfills like they used to earlier, and like their counterparts in other cities still do, they go around house to house and collect waste from citizens with a user fee that the citizens pay. So Swachh has been spoken about in other contexts also as a model that is a pro-poor private-public partnership, which allows the municipality to offer a decentralized waste collection system where the citizen and the waste picker have a direct interface with each other. So the waste picker is collecting waste from 200 odd households each, and around 3,500 waste pickers in Pune who are part of Swachh collect waste from around 8.5 lakh households. So the waste pickers of Swachh are differently impacted compared to the waste pickers who are members of KKPKP and not doing doorstep collection. For the most part, waste pickers who are not in any kind of formal or semi-formal relationship with the municipality or citizens simply have no work to do. Recycling enterprises, processing units, scrap shops are closed. So like many other informal workers, they are completely jobless. They have a tough time surviving. They are currently dependent either on some kind of relief support that organizations have provided, corporates have provided, or local municipality, which again very often is providing support from corporates only, are providing in sealed and containment areas, or they are dipping into their hard-earned and saved money and just surviving based on that. Of course, the government PDS system is also the third area from where they are sourcing their basic resources for survival. Waste pickers of Swachh are in a different and again slightly precarious and maybe additionally vulnerable situation. A Swachh waste picker has to go to work. So unlike white collared workers, they don't have the liberty of working from home. But unlike other informal sector workers, they do not also have the liberty of protecting their health and staying at home. They have to go out and work, yet with not even the basic guarantee that they will get a user fee. So the Swachh model works in a manner where the citizen is expected to pay a user fee to the waste picker, and she gets the rest of her earnings from the sale of scrap. Currently, it so happens that a good proportion of the citizens waste pickers serve are themselves very poor and probably unable to pay the user fee. Yet the waste picker has to go and collect the waste, because otherwise there's a risk that the waste collection system collapses. And not only is there a huge health and hygiene issue that could be caused, but there's also a very real risk of fear that a waste picker has, that she might lose her work completely. So just like domestic workers, they are interested in protecting their livelihood, perhaps at the risk of not being so careful about their health. So they would all rather work than take the risk of staying at home and protecting their health. So these workers are at great risk of exposing themselves, transmitting also, and carrying the infection. They have been working, and one can see, of course, the change in attitudes of the municipality, the citizens, and the police, and the waste pickers themselves. Over Pune has been locked down for almost 75 days now, because Maharashtra introduced the lockdown earlier. So what started off with a lot of genuine civil society report. So civil society, many citizens would actually call up, many of them supported, not only gave dry relief, rations, PPE kits, allowed waste pickers access to community taps so that they could clean up, of course, at least partially in the interest of protecting their own health. But pretty soon, over a month, that gave way to fear that waste pickers are transmitting the disease, and we really don't want them to collect the waste. We don't want them to come, without recognizing that any worker, any level of formal worker who might end up coming, carries as much risk of both carrying and transmitting and contracting the infection. So, and neither, in all fairness to the waste pickers' perspective, Corona has not come from the waste picker community. It's pretty much come from the citizens who are, in fact, currently the service recipients. So the fact is that they live in densely populated slums, and the risk of them contracting and spreading fast is not only there, but it's been realized, and many slums have been declared containment zones in Pune, and therefore waste pickers from those slums or from nearby slums also, citizens are stopping them from coming. So the attendance of waste pickers, which in the first few days was, first month almost, was registering 97%, is now dropping to around 85-90%, because citizens don't want them to come, or the police are not allowing them to go in certain directions if they don't live very close to the areas of where they work. Or in some cases, citizens are demanding alternative services. Very often, when alternate services are not provided, citizens end up burning waste. They end up either burning the waste or throwing it in nearby empty plots, or if they live along hillsides or near water bodies, they throw the waste there. And therefore, there are many other environmental issues that could result with a waste collection system collapsing. So we have been, of course, working very closely with the municipality and insisting that the waste collection system not be withdrawn unless waste pickers are actually tested positive and therefore not able to show up for work. We do have a large number of cases. We have around 100 members who have tested positive. Many of their family members also either positive or quarantined, and therefore not able to step out and continue work. One needs to also see in this in the context that, unlike even nurses, waste pickers, though they are frontline workers, are not, even within frontline workers, are very low down the pecking order. So providing PPE for a waste picker features really low in everyone's priority. However, because of their massive interface with citizens on a regular basis, citizens are happy to provide it because they want to protect, like I said, their own health. We have seen a significant change in the waste pickers' willingness to and desire to use personal protective equipment. And now we are currently, of course, facing huge shortages. The municipality is able to give some. We are trying to procure some through support from other entities, because the municipality has its own workers to take care of and is simply not able to, let's say, provide the requirements at the time and in the manner and at the frequency required. So we are completely dependent on external support also for this. We have, of course, been mounting the pressure on municipality and saying that they owe it to the workers to do it, and the municipality is looking at it. We've also pushed for an insurance program, because we've had a death already due to corona, and waste pickers have not been yet covered under insurance. So we've been pushing that the waste pickers get covered under insurance for that. The entire recycling industry itself has also seen some strange closures and openings. So there are a lot of formal processing industries within Pune, also waste to energy, biomethanation, and large capital intensive centralized kind of plants, which are technically operational because they are considered an essential service. So these are run by big contractors and they are supposed to continue to function. Unfortunately, they don't function because most of these contractors are not paying minimum wages and other statutory wages, and they therefore usually employ migrant labor, which is willing to work at a lower rate. And unfortunately, all these migrant workers have headed back to their towns and villages and cities, and they're not available. So these plants are allowed to run, but don't run or cannot run. And on the other hand, the entire recycling sector, which comprises small scrap shops, small reprocessing units, is forcefully closed, and they would actually very much like to run and ensure that the material gets recycled. When such a sector is closed and not considered an essential service, it means that the environment is at big risk, because potentially large volumes of waste that could get recycled are going to the landfill and are going and not even getting processed there. So some of the larger issues of how waste management is thought through also needs to change. At another level, I mean, what can we learn from this, and how can we sort of propose next steps, not just waiting for the next pandemic or for corona itself to pan out, but to look at how can waste be handled and how can waste workers be included in economies and in cities, so that the dependence on centralized processing, on centralized collection systems goes down. So a lot of groups, lot of people working in waste across the world will argue that decentralized models that promote citizens segregating waste, including the waste pickers who are anyway servicing the waste bins around that area, that they get integrated in waste collection. They go house to house, collect waste from the citizens, encourage citizens to compost the waste, actually help them compost the waste in their own backyards, and reduce the dependence on transport of waste to centralized landfills or to centralized processing plants, is anyway a solution. I mean, we didn't have to wait for something like this to come up to recognize that that is a solution. So many groups like us have been arguing that we should move towards a paradigm shift in waste handling, look at processing more and more organic waste in situ, not require it to go to, in Pune's case, the Urli landfill, or in Pimpri's case, the Moshi landfill. But we know landfills across India are protesting the waste coming there. And this is a great opportunity, actually, at this time when many middle-class citizens and large generators of waste are sitting at home and being slightly philosophical about capitalism and whether one should look at alternatives and see what capitalism has caused. Maybe the time is good to engage with them more actively and get them to start actually practicing slightly environmentally robust systems, encouraging them to segregate their waste, compost it in situ, recognize the waste worker who is servicing them, getting to know her better, engaging with how she's handling waste, talking to their own neighbors who are not perhaps segregating waste and not aware of the really multiple layers of waste, waste workers, solid waste management, and using this time perhaps, I mean, we in Pune definitely have another month to engage citizens to get involved in all these issues. So that's broadly where we are. I think I'll stop here, and if anyone has any comment.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi. We'll probably hear our other two speakers also, and then take all the questions together. So I now request Veena Gupta to kindly take the forum and speak to us.
मैं आशा वर्कर्स के बारे में बोलना चाह रही थी। आशा वर्कर्स को जो आप, मुझे लग रहा है थोड़ा इंडिकेशन दे क्योंकि आवाज नहीं आ रही है। यू कैन हियर मी?
Yeah, we can hear you.
ओके, थैंक्स। नाउ मैं बोल, आशा वर्कर्स को एक तो इतनी हड़बड़ी में ड्यूटी पे लगाया गया कि उनको कोई ट्रेनिंग या कोई जानकारी ही नहीं दी गई कि क्या कोरोना के इन्फेक्शन से क्या खतरे हैं और वो कैसे अपने को सेफ रखें। उनको तुरंत बिना किसी ट्रेनिंग के लोगों की सर्वे के लिए उतार दिया और इससे भी ज्यादा ये रहा कि लोगों में भी जागरूकता नहीं थी। तो एक रेसिस्टेंस आया लोगों का कि ये हमारे घर आके हमारे लोगों के बारे में बहुत ज्यादा पूछताछ कर रहे हैं, तो ये क्यों कर रहे हैं। दूसरा ये रहा कि इनको जो सर्वे का जो काम दिया गया उसमें लॉकडाउन था, कोई ट्रांसपोर्ट नहीं था। ट्रांसपोर्ट ना होने से फील्ड में जाने के लिए इनको बहुत दिक्कत रही। अपने पर्सनल मैनेजमेंट करके किसी तरीके से ये लोग अपने सर्वे की जो एरिया था उसको कवर करते रहे। उनको कोई और इनकी इनकम पे भी बहुत असर पड़ा। इतने सारे काम इनको दिए गए क्वारंटाइन करने का। क्वारंटाइन माने जो संदिग्ध है, और जब हम वो संदिग्ध है तो दैट मीन्स कि वो कोरोना पॉजिटिव भी फ्यूचर में हो सकता है। और फ्यूचर में अगर वो कोरोना पॉजिटिव निकलता है तो उनको बहुत ज्यादा खतरा आशा वर्कर को भी था, जो उनका किसी ने भी इसका नोटिस नहीं लिया और बड़े अधिकारी सिर्फ प्रेशर डालते रहे और उनको फील्ड में भेजते रहे। उनका जो आशा वर्कर्स का जो पूरा असर पड़ा इन सारी चीजों का, वो ये था कि जो उनको रेगुलर जो वो काम करती थी वो बंद हो गया और उनको सिर्फ 1000 रुपए देने का सरकार ने वादा किया और उसके लिए उन्हें बहुत ज्यादा लगभग 8-9 घंटे काम करना है और कागजी काम भी करना है और फील्ड में भी जाना है। तो इन हालात में आशा वर्कर को दोनों तरफ से जो है उन पे मार पड़ी, लेकिन उन्होंने फिर भी अपना काम किया और बहुत सारी रिपोर्ट्स हमारे पास आई जहाँ सोसाइटी में लोगों ने उनको बहुत परेशान किया, कई के साथ मारपीट भी हुई, कुछ केसेस भी हुए, लेकिन फील्ड में कहीं ना तो मेडिकल स्टाफ ना किसी और ने उनको जाकर के मदद की। इसके अलावा जो रेगुलर जो महिलाएं जो प्रेग्नेंट थी और जो आशा के संपर्क में थी वो लगातार परेशान रही और उनके साथ में संपर्क में रही कि भाई किस तरह वो उनको हॉस्पिटल ले जाए। हॉस्पिटल सारे बंद थे, तो ये एक इनडायरेक्टली बहुत बड़ा असर जो मदर्स थी उनके ऊपर पड़ा है। जो डिलीवरी फिर घर में हुई, बहुत सारे इम्यूनाइजेशन नहीं हुआ, बहुत सारी समस्याएं जो बाकी लोग आप भी जानते हैं। हमारी अब मांग ये है कि आशा वर्कर घर घर जाकर के सर्वे का काम उसको दिया है। एक कोविड-19 निगरानी कमेटी गांव-गांव में बनी है, जिसमें आशा वर्कर और आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स हैं और आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर ने भी को पूरा लगाया गया कोटेदार के यहाँ राशन बांटने के लिए, इन सारी चीजों के लिए। हम अब डिमांड करना चाहते हैं, मैं टू बी शॉर्ट ये कहूंगी कि हमारी मुख्य डिमांड्स जो समाज के भी हित में है और वर्कर्स के भी हित में है वो जानी चाहिए। हमारी पहली डिमांड यही है कि आशा वर्कर घूम घूम के सारा काम कर रही है। अभी इम्यूनाइजेशन शुरू होना है, बरसात आने वाली है और गांव की हालत बहुत खराब है और जो लोग बाहर से आ रहे हैं उन बाहर से आने वालों का क्वारंटाइन होना है। इसके लिए आशा को गांव में एक हेल्थ सेंटर बनना चाहिए। हेल्थ सेंटर से ये मतलब नहीं है कि कोई बहुत बड़ी बिल्डिंग की हम कल्पना कर रहे हैं, लेकिन एक मिनिमम हेल्थ सेंटर वहाँ पे होना चाहिए जहाँ आशा बैठ करके इम्यूनाइजेशन का काम, गांव की मॉनिटरिंग का काम, लोगों को सूचना देने का काम और उनकी जानकारी लेने का काम कर सके। एक ऐसा सेंटर जरूर होना चाहिए। यहीं पे जो आंगनवाड़ी केंद्र हैं उन पर भी अभी क्या है कि जो बच्चे हैं उनको जिन पे सिर्फ आधार कार्ड है उन्हीं को लोग जो हैं वो पोषाहार दे रहे हैं। इससे बहुत विरोध है कम्युनिटी में, क्योंकि बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जिन पे आधार नहीं है। और अभी हुआ यह है कि बहुत सारे माइग्रेंट लेबर गांव के अंदर पहुंचा है, उनका सर्वे हो रहा है, उनके भी बच्चे हैं कुछ बच्चों को मिलता है, कुछ को नहीं मिलता है, तो वो भी एक समस्या पैदा कर रहा है और प्रतिरोध हो रहा है, और उससे ये अकेले निपट रहे हैं, कोई भी अधिकारी स्तर पे इनकी बात सुनने को तैयार नहीं है। तो हमारा मांग है कि आधार हो या ना हो, हर बच्चे को इम्यूनाइजेशन और जो उसका पोषाहार या जो न्यूट्रिशियस फूड उसको मिलता है वो उसको मिलना चाहिए। इन लोगों का इतना बड़ा काम है, और काफी इनके बीच भी संक्रमण हुआ है, जो वर्कर्स है, फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स हैं, तो इनको एक कोविड महामारी का एक स्पेशल इंसेंटिव इसको मिलना चाहिए, और जो 1000 है वो कम से कम 10,000 होना चाहिए, तभी ये ठीक से काम कर सकते हैं। अदरवाइज इनकी जीवन भी इनका जोखिम में लगा हुआ है, इनकी फैमिली भी जोखिम में है, और ये बहुत अच्छी तरह से जो काम अभी तक 2 महीने में किया है, अगर ये नहीं बढ़ाया गया तो आगे नहीं कर पाएंगे। एक बहुत बड़ा समस्या इनका ट्रांसपोर्ट भी है। आशा वर्कर या जो संगिनी है, वो कैसे फील्ड में जाकर के घर घर जाए। एक बड़ा एरिया है, कई बार छोटे-छोटे मजरे हैं, वहाँ जाने के लिए इन पे कोई व्हीकल, साइकिल या स्कूटी कुछ होनी चाहिए। अगर स्कूटी नहीं तो कम से कम साइकिल इनको देनी चाहिए, नहीं तो इनको कुछ ट्रांसपोर्ट का भत्ता देना चाहिए ताकि ये अरेंज करा सके। अभी तो जो टोटल हम देखते हैं पूरा इनका काम और इनकी इनकम, ये अपनी जेब से खर्च कर रही हैं और सिर्फ एक समाज सेवा के हित में जो है उसमें खर्च कर रही हैं। तो ये इनके प्रॉब्लम्स को लेकर के मेनली मेरा कहना था। और आशा और आंगनवाड़ी दोनों ही मिलकर के फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर के रूप में काम कर रही हैं, लेकिन आशा का रोल इस समय बहुत उभर के आया है। आशा को सब लोग बहुत उम्मीद से देख रहे हैं, और हेल्थ की सिचुएशन गांव में बहुत खराब है। आने वाले समय में इम्यूनाइजेशन ना होने से, जो आशा वर्कर्स ने बताया कि गर्भवती महिलाओं का, प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज का, लैक्टेटिंग मदर्स का, छोटे बच्चों का जन्म होते ही जो उनका होता है इम्यूनाइजेशन, वो नहीं हुआ है। तो बहुत डर है इस बात का कि आने वाले कुछ महीनों में इस तरह की बच्चों के बीच में मोर्टेलिटी रेट जो है वो बढ़ेगा, और उसके लिए आशा एक बहुत बड़ा काम कर सकती है, और वो कर भी रही है, लेकिन बिना संसाधनों के, बिना सपोर्ट के, बिना सरकार की सपोर्ट के ये संभव नहीं है। क्योंकि जो वैक्सीन डिलीवरी होनी है, जो गांव तक जाना है, और गांव में फिर पूरी गांव की व्यवस्था उनको देखनी है, उसके लिए आशाओं को बहुत सपोर्ट की जरूरत है। तो आशा को कोई मिनिमम वेज नहीं है, इसको सिर्फ अभी तक कमीशन बेस्ड ही मिला करता था, कमीशन के आधार पर इनको मिलता है, जिसमें वो भी काम अब बंद हो चुका है, और उस कमीशन में बहुत भ्रष्टाचार है, क्योंकि जो इनके बिल्स हैं वो एएनएम और डॉक्टर को अप्रूव करने पड़ते हैं, और वो अप्रूव करने के एवज में इनसे पैसे की डिमांड करते हैं। तो एक तो बहुत कम मिलता है, और वो इसी तरह से है जैसे अगर एक बच्चे का इम्यूनाइजेशन किया तो 75 रुपया मिलेगा, कुछ बच्चों को कुछ और उन्होंने हेल्प की तो उनको कुछ थोड़ा पैसा मिलेगा। इस तरह कुल मिला करके 8 कामों के लिए 2000 रुपए का एक पैकेज है, और कोविड का जो पूरा काम ये कर रहे हैं उसके लिए सिर्फ 1000 है। मिनिमम बेस तो छोड़िए, ये बहुत बहुत शर्मनाक है सरकार के लिए भी कि आप 9-10 घंटे काम ले रहे हैं एक से, और वो भी इतनी खतरनाक स्थितियों में जहाँ जो माइग्रेट लेबर, बहुत सारे दबंग भी हैं जो गांव में वापस आए हैं, जो लेबर नहीं है, तो वो दबंग लोग जो हैं उनका नाम जब आता है कि इनको क्वारंटाइन होना चाहिए, तो वो आशा को दोषी मानते हैं कि इनकी वजह से हमें घर में अलग रहना पड़ेगा, और वो मारपीट भी करने लगते हैं। तो ऐसे हालात में आशाओं ने अभी काफी साल से, लगभग 10 साल से उनकी बहुत ट्रेनिंग्स हुई है। सरकार को उन्हें स्थायी करना चाहिए, मिनिमम वेज देनी चाहिए, और गांव में एक हेल्थ फैसिलिटी सेंटर जरूर बनाना चाहिए ताकि वो वहां से उस काम को ठीक से कर सके। तभी हमारी कम्युनिटी इतनी खतरनाक डिजीज से, जैसा कि मैं सुन भी रही थी अभी जो साथी बोल रहे थे, जो खतरा है उससे लोगों को बचाया जा सके। और अभी उत्तर प्रदेश में खास तौर से मेरा एक्सपीरियंस ज्यादा है। यहाँ गांव की हालत में ट्रांसपोर्ट बहुत खराब है, सड़कों की हालत बहुत खराब है, बारिश शुरू होने जा रही है, ऐसे में बहुत ज्यादा आने जाने की असुविधा लोगों को होने जा रही है। मरीज को वहाँ अस्पताल तक ले जाना जो है वो बहुत मुश्किल है। सारा जो सिस्टम था वो लगभग चरमरा गया है, एम्बुलेंस नहीं मिल रही है। और क्या है कि आशा के सामने समस्या कि लोग आशा को ही सरकार का प्रतिनिधि मान लेते हैं, और सरकार का प्रतिनिधि मानकर सारा गुस्सा लोगों का आशा के ऊपर उतरता है। इसलिए मैं समझती हूँ ये डिमांड समय की भी मांग है, देश की हालात की भी मांग है, हमारे समुदाय की मांग है, और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण हमारे देश के बच्चों की और गर्भवती औरतों की तरफ से ये मांग हम करते हैं सरकार के साथ में कि गांव में हेल्थ सेंटर बनाएं और उसको मजबूत करें। हमारा ये नहीं है कि आप कोई बहुत बड़ा अस्पताल बनाएं, एक सेंटर बनाएं जहाँ से आशा काम कर सके। दूसरा है कि इम्यूनाइजेशन रेगुलर हो, ताकि और न्यूट्रिशियस फूड जो है जो आंगनवाड़ी के द्वारा है वो भी रेगुलर उसकी सप्लाई हो और अच्छा होना चाहिए। पीडीएस भी मजबूत हो ताकि लोगों की हेल्थ अच्छी हो और वो उनके ऊपर उनके स्वास्थ्य की देखभाल जो आशा कर रही है वो बेहतर तरीके से कर सके। तो वो गांव में रोगी समिति, कल्याण समिति की भी सेक्रेटरी हैं, उन्हें बहुत सारी भूमिकाएं हैं, लेकिन उसके एवज में सिर्फ 1000 रुपए महीना कोविड-19 में देना और पूरे बहुत सारे काम में न्यूनतम 2000 उनको जो मिलता है वो भी काम की रिपोर्ट देने पर, और काम की रिपोर्ट जब एएनएम और डॉक्टर अप्रूव करते हैं तब मिलता है। ये एक आज हेल्थ का बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है। हेल्थ की ये जमीनी कार्यकर्ता है, फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर हैं, इनकी डिमांड हर तबके के लोगों को मिलकर उठानी चाहिए। कोविड-19 ने साबित कर दिया है कि अकेले कोई भी बीमारी से धंधा नहीं लड़ सकता, मिलके ही हम सब लड़ सकते हैं। तो ऐसे में आशाओं को के साथ आवाज उठाने के लिए जो दूसरे सेक्टर्स हैं, जो लोग भी पब्लिक हेल्थ में कंसर्न रखते हैं, उन लोगों को साथ मिलकर के ये आवाज जो है बहुत उठाने की जरूरत है। यूपी के बारे में स्पेशली जरूर मैं ये 2 बातें कहना चाहूंगी कि यूपी में जो पेमेंट है बहुत इरेगुलर है और जो भी मिलता है समय से बिल्कुल नहीं मिलता है, और बहुत ज्यादा उनका जो है वो काट लिया जाता है, और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हेल्थ का ना होने से जो डिलीवरी के लिए भी वो महिलाओं को ले जाती है और उनकी जान जब जोखिम में आती है तो आशाओं को ही जान को भी खतरा रहता है। तो ये समय है कि हम उनके यूपी के हेल्थ सेक्रेटरी ने खुद अप्रिशिएट किया है कि आशाओं ने लाखों परिवारों का सर्वे किया, और सर्वे करने के बाद उन्होंने जो संक्रमित है उनकी पहचान की, लेकिन उनको कोई भी सिक्योरिटी के लिए ना पीपीई किट, ना मास्क, ना सैनिटाइजर कुछ भी नहीं दिया जा रहा है। वो अपने पास से ही पैसे खर्च करके अपने एरिया के लोगों को दे रही हैं और खुद अपने लिए इस्तेमाल कर रही हैं। एरिया के लोग भी, क्योंकि ये सब जान रहे हैं कि अगर सब लोग संक्रमण से बचेंगे तभी वो खुद भी संक्रमण से बच सकते हैं। तो इन हालात में मैं धन्यवाद करूंगी आप सबका कि मुझे मौका दिया बात रखने का, और ये भी कि मिल के सब ये आवाज उठाए। ये एक हेल्थ इमरजेंसी है और इस हेल्थ इमरजेंसी में बचाने का जो झंडा हाथ में लिए हुए हैं वो आशा वर्कर्स हैं और आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स हैं, क्योंकि आंगनवाड़ी भी बहुत सारे काम कर रही है। तो हमें एक आपका जैसे एक संस्था है, और हम लोग तो खाली वर्कर्स की बात भी रखते हैं और दूसरी भी रखते हैं, तो आप इसमें बच्चों का भी जोड़िए कि कम से कम डिस्क्रिमिनेट ना करें उन बच्चों को जिन पे आधार नहीं है। ये हमारे वर्कर्स की जिंदगी को जोखिम में डाल रहा है, क्योंकि वो डिस्क्रिमिनेट नहीं कर सकती उस मोहल्ले में जाकर के कि एक बच्चे को फैसिलिटी दें दूसरे को न दें। तो इसलिए ये बहुत जरूरी है कि हम इनकी आवाज उठाएं, और मुझे उम्मीद है आप सब मिलकर के इस आवाज को उठाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत शुक्रिया।
आपकी आवाज बिल्कुल नहीं आ रही है मुझे। आई कैन रीड ओनली। ओके, हिंदी में बोली हूँ तो थोड़ा हो सकता है कुछ लोगों को दिक्कत हो, लेकिन आई कुड एक्सप्रेस माई सेल्फ इन हिंदी वेल.
Okay. It has been translated, so that's not a worry. So we will take a few questions now. So thanks to both Lakshmi and Veena for highlighting some of the very crucial issues that are happening both in the area of waste management and the public health area of ASHA and Anganwadi workers. So a question to Veena, to Lakshmi. So in the context of all that is, sorry, I can hear some other conversation. In the context of COVID, We do understand that now the waste collection and management is not running as efficiently as it is supposed to, and people are not yet ready to compost at the household level. I can speak for Bangalore. It's only in a few places that composting is happening, and waste, in fact, has not even been collected. And like you said, yes, there is some burning happening in and around neighborhoods themselves. So will this kind of change the effort of civil society that has been done over the last 2 decades? Since 1999, there has been so much effort in ensuring, landfills don't come up, waste is not burned in an unscientific way, landfills are not done in an unscientific way. In Bangalore itself, more than a couple of landfills were shut down because they were, one, very unscientific, they were set up in a very illegal way. So do you think this condition now will push us way back, and it'll give room to more waste to energy, which may not be scientific again completely? And we also know the problems with technology, because many of the waste to energy centers are not functioning efficiently because of various problems, given that the waste does not have the enough latent heat, so on and so forth. So do you think all the effort over the last 2 decades is going to go for a waste, and we're going to have a lot more landfills, a lot more illegal burning, unscientific burning, is my question.
Yeah. So a lot of this will depend on how much we manage to actually mobilize and fight this issue at the city level, at a national level. Internationally also, groups are a little concerned about whether the recycling industry can in fact bounce out of something like this. In Latin America, colleagues are wondering whether the small retail scrap shops, they are really very, very small scale. 3-4 months of closure means that they are looking at alternative livelihoods. So there are big question marks about whether the recycling industry itself will be a little suspect in this context, and whether this will be, again, a very smooth ground for big industry to step in. And even if one is talking about processing, the possibility that plastics processing, etc., will happen in much larger centralized plants. And even if recycling of plastic is more desirable than waste to energy, not even if, it is, absolutely it is. The concern is that there is a big risk with centralization also. One shouldn't forget that there is an environmental aspect to processing, and there is a centralization, capital intensive technological solutions, which automatically push out many other players. So that is a risk. There is burning. It depends on how we as civil society, as trade unions, as cooperatives manage to put enough pressure on the municipality and on citizens not to engage in such practices. There's a big fear that plastics is back with a bang, not that it had gone, but all the efforts over the years, particularly more recently, where there was a fairly strong civil society community that was questioning the use of single-use plastics. Now everyone loves it because they think this is going to be what protects us, the additional layer that will keep us safe from the virus. So plastics is a big question mark, and internationally also everyone is worried about this has become a stepping stone for it to re-enter. But to respond to you, what will happen is really going to depend. I'm optimistic enough to believe that it will depend at least partly on what we all manage to do collectively.
Thank you. So I think, again, going back to some of the court orders, so maybe the only way now is to demand complete decentralization, and at the ward level, if waste can be managed. So as a demand for waste management, can we push for something like that?
Absolutely, we should. The thing is that since it's an urban local body issue, despite national directives, despite what MSW, despite many national and even state level directives, GRs, even the rules being fairly conducive for this, without the urban local body taking it on, and we know that urban local bodies are struggling with large expensive contracts that they've tied themselves up to for 5-7 years, and the players who they've tied themselves up against are good, big, solid players, not good, but solid players who are able to actually fight them in court. And we know that in PCMC, in our neighboring municipality, the municipality was on the back foot because the contractor took them to court saying that you are deviating from the terms of the contract. So all those risks are there, that since the urban local bodies are tied up with contracts, decentralized waste processing cannot become a reality unless one can get them to rethink or renegotiate some of those contracts.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I know you've answered a couple of questions in the chat box itself, but just one question before we go to Wilson. Bezwada Wilson has joined us right now. So we'll take one question for you and then I'll hand it over to him. So there was a question saying that are waste pickers specifically trained in case they are to be exposed to handling hospital medical waste? Same goes for e-waste, but I guess the question is more in the context of COVID. Have they received any training?
Yes, so waste pickers have been trained. We've used a number of digital leaflets and we have a large base of coordinators who interact with them on a daily basis. So they have been trained not only on PPE use. I mean, so giving them PPE is not enough because obviously workers who are not used to PPE on a regular basis, there are genuine risks that using PPE badly might actually increase the risk of contamination. So there's been a fair amount of training on how to use the PPE, washing it regularly. All of it that we've given is reusable. So how they should keep it clean. The thing is, hospital waste in most cities and in Pune has a separate collection system. So the waste pickers are not typically exposed to it. But in the COVID context, there are a whole lot of non-hospital waste generators, private waste generators, who are also potentially very likely generating infected waste. Not everyone who has been quarantined is very careful. Not everyone who's quarantined is even declaring that they are supposed to be quarantined. So we know of so many cases where waste has probably been disposed with the other waste. So we have worked out an understanding with the municipality that at least that's how it started, that quarantine facilities, the waste would be separately collected. But if there are individuals living in residential areas and they are not disposing their waste safely, there is no way that a waste picker can really protect herself beyond a point. I mean, she cannot treat the infected waste any differently. So training helps, but it helps if there's that level of civic consciousness. And so the big question we ask when citizens very often ask is whether waste pickers are trained is whether you are trained. I mean, as a citizen, are you trained in effective handling of waste? A waste picker is trained to come to your door at a regular time, pick up your segregated waste. She's trained and changed herself and operates under completely different circumstances. She goes around house to house instead of picking up a sack and going to work. She's changed her whole working ethic. Have you changed your basic habit of just segregating waste? So most citizens, not most, many citizens have not. So it's not only training of waste pickers that's required, it's training of all of us.
Thank you. I now request our speaker, Bezwada Wilson, to talk to us about what is happening in the manual scavenging context, especially during COVID and the lockdown. And we know there were many challenges even before the COVID and the lockdown. So it'll be great to hear your thoughts on it. Over to you, Mr. Wilson.
During this COVID, everybody knows that there were many problems happened, particularly for the sanitation related occupations, whoever involved. It is not just the Safai Karamcharis only, but whoever involved, everybody had then a big problem. And there was a risk also. The problem is here, they declared, or even everybody knows that sanitation is an essential service. So sanitation workers cannot refuse to go for the work. But when the lockdown announced, the very next few days, it was so panic that everybody they have not even came out of the house and everybody locked the doors. During that time, the sanitation inspectors, everybody started calling everybody, you must come on time. And there is no transportation. And there is no any public transportation, or they have no other their own personal transportation. So they have to walk from the home to their working places, far away, particularly in Delhi and many places. And after reaching there is nobody who can give you work or anything, but they are asking you have to clean all these things, this. And after 2-3 days, it was so dumps everywhere and everything. No proper safety gear. One day they have given some masks in some few places, later there was no. And gloves to bilkul nahi hai. They have not given any this thing. And gum shoes and all, we specify many things, but it was not given. So my only demand here is, why when you announce then a lockdown and it is becoming a essential service, and you know that sanitation is every day they have to do, why you have not prepared all these things? And you come and announce and immediately ask the people to come and work. And it creates a kind of a panic that they become like a, my only understanding is, during this time, you have to work for the sake of the people. And when they started working, if they have no facility, like you say that everybody says that every half an hour you have to wash your hands fully. And there is no water, no public taps, no restaurants open, and no houses is open. So where they will wash? And there is no drinking water. And from morning till evening. After evening, they were asking whether I can go back to home or shall I stay here, because my family members may also get this kind of a virus if I go home. So these are the major problems that people have started facing. During that time, what happened, the people, particularly the sanitation inspectors and all, they said that you have to work. So my only submission here is, the labor who fought for their rights and got many privileges all these years, everything has just taken away during this lockdown. They said that we have to work now, otherwise how it will go. So the people who has to fight, they were slowly tuned that we have to work, otherwise there is no other alternative. It is a completely nonsense. There are the other alternative methods. They can have many things and they can prepare. Third, there are no salaries as given. So people who are sitting government employees at the home saying that work from the home, in the beginning 10-15 days there was not much work, but they got the salaries. But sanitation workers without the salaries must come and work, but you don't get the salaries on time. And there are the people who got affected, particularly many states and including the Delhi, and they want to go for the hospital, no facilities at all. And AIMS, the chief of the sanitation himself, he got this, and he asked many times the safety gear. They have not provided even in AIMS. So finally he died. So there are the many deaths happened. So there are the many demands of the people. And my only this thing is, sanitation workers were treated as like slaves. This is not good for any democratic country. And there is no consideration of that. They are also labor-like. There is no dignity question. There was no self-respect question. There is no any kind of a labor rights or anything. So these we have to put into the one order, and government must respond for all these questions one. And the people who died during this, by giving the services, all their family members must get the government permanent jobs, not the scavenging or the sanitation, other alternative dignified livelihood.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We will now take some questions. There are already a bunch of questions out there. Mr. Wilson, I have a question for you. So this entire lockdown and the COVID situation is probably again going to take us all back many years from the time all of you started working and helped bring so much change. In the context of the 2013 Act, despite the ban, we continue to see manual scavengers dying. As of January and February, we had deaths in Bangalore. But there have been no convictions. So would you like to say what is happening about that?
See, during the lockdown, most of the things got stopped. But sewage deaths has not stopped. In Mumbai it happened, in Delhi it happened, in Tamil Nadu it happened. In many states it is continuously happening at all. Which means what? During the lockdown also, the sewage and septic tank workers were all working. The problem here is the government in 2013, they said that we are going to stop all this kind of a manually handling of the human excreta, and we mechanize everything, and we will not displace any person. We will also make them to train and the dignified occupations. But they have not done even a single place where they are bringing the machines also. They are giving to the some private contractors or some private companies and some financial companies. In the name of the actually mechanization, the people who died all these years, almost like a 2,000 people, we have the data with us, and they are not talking about even anything about. Now the mechanization has come. They are bringing some machines and giving to the people who are able to pay the good money back, the what it is called the loan. My question is, why can't these local bodies can have their own machines and train these people, and you can use? We are saying that any person can use, not just the sanitation workers only must use, others can also use. But the people who are working as on today should not be displaced. Otherwise, the problem is the government, what they are doing very cunningly, they are taking away the people who are entering into the septic tank today and giving the machine to somebody else. So these people who are entering, they are coming and saying, "Ye kaam mujhe chahiye, yehi kaam mujhe chahiye, mujhe machine nahi." Kyun? To unka, for him, it is he is not going to get the machine and he is going to lose the job. So you create such a situation where the scavengers ask, "I want my job only." This is a criminal violence of the actually violating the dignity of the citizen. You must enhance the dignity and self-respect of the people. That is what we given the promise in the Constitution of India. In the preamble itself we said. But what is happening? You make, and people are now everywhere started. The Safai Karamcharis, they themselves, they are asking, they want this job only. It is a completely nonsense, and nobody is saying that. And who is ready to go and die in the sewer line and septic tank? You have to ask the question to any Safai Karamchari that you like to go, enter and die. Then they will say definitely, no, why should I die? And you say differently, and आप नहीं करे तो क्या? ये तो 2 घंटा का काम है, फटाफट करके चल जाते हैं. So we put all our actually and tune and all these rights perspective, civil society, governments, purposely they are taking away and tuning and putting again like a slavery mindset. So the labor has to think that this is my country, this country has to run according to my will and wish. Because the country is not somebody and labor are not the servants. They are the people who are building this country. Whatever labor, either the construction labor, migrant labor, or the Safai Karamcharis, or whoever. So that concept has completely taken away, and we increased from 8 hours to 12 hours. There is not even a single person is coming out. And we go for buy the vegetables, we go buy for the everything, and shopping, everything is started. But because we have created such a fear that if you come out and talk anything out, you may be going to the jail tomorrow. This kind of a situation, atmosphere, the state and particularly the government created, that is not good for the democracy. The state now must come and openly apologize the citizens that so much of the fear what they created, that was not good, and we have to build the society, state and our bureaucracy, everything again the democratic model. We have gone back.
Thank you. So we have a question for Miss Veena. Veena, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so there is a question for you saying that from Suhas. So he says ASHA workers should be recognized as frontline health workers and given minimum wages should be covered under the insurance schemes. And also their regular duties need to be taken care by recruiting more workers. So what do you have to say for that?
हाँ, यस, इट्स बहुत सही कहा है उन्होंने कि वो उनको मिनिमम वेज तो कम से कम मिलना चाहिए और सोशल सिक्योरिटी भी. और अभी जो इंश्योरेंस सरकार ने 50 लाख का दिया है वो काफी नहीं है, क्योंकि ये इसमें लिखा है कि ये सिर्फ कोविड से ही अगर डेथ होगी तभी उनको मिलेगा। बट क्या है कि जिनकी डेथ हुई है उनका कोई पोस्टमार्टम नहीं हुआ, उनका कोई टेस्ट नहीं हुआ कोविड-19 का। कई डेथ्स इस बीच में हुई हैं और उन्होंने डिनाई किया है इनको देने के लिए, जो 50 लाख है। तो हमारा डिमांड है कि उनको पूरा किसी भी कारण से डेथ हो इस बीच में वो मिलना चाहिए, और कोई बीमारी का भी इसमें होना चाहिए। मतलब इसमें उन्होंने बीमारी का इलाज के लिए जो है 50 लाख में व्यवस्था नहीं की है, तो इलाज और बाई चांस अगर डेथ होती है तो दोनों में होना चाहिए, और उनको फ्रंट लाइन हेल्थ वर्क का रिकॉग्नाइज करना चाहिए। और हमारी ये मांग है, और उस गांव में एक सेंटर बना के उनको एक डिग्निफाइड तरीके से काम करने का जो है वर्किंग कंडीशन जो है सरकार को बनानी चाहिए, और ये समाज के भी हित में है। और मिनिमम वेज एंड सोशल सिक्योरिटी हमारी शुरू से मांग है, इसको सबके साथ मिलके शायद आवाज उठे तो सरकार कुछ सुन पाए।
Okay,
Yes.
there is a related comment and question. So Ashima has said that she's in fact reported a Live Mint article which says that according to the finance ministry, Safai Karamcharis, ward boys, nurses, ASHA workers, and all of them will be covered by a medical insurance. And I think the compensation that has been mentioned is about 50 lakh under that scheme. So she asked if that has worked out, and are there allocations of this nature for also getting personal protective equipments and ensuring that getting the disease is one aspect, but what is happening to prevent the situation? Maybe both of you can respond, all three of you can respond to that.
ओके ओके एक तो पीपीई किट यहाँ कोई भी किसी भी तरह का इवन जो मिनिमम मास्क है वो भी नहीं मिला, बल्कि कई जगह क्या हुआ कि जो मेडिकल ऑफिसर ने 4-5 आशा को कुछ मास्क दिया, फोटो खिंचा के भेज दिया कि वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुआ है, बट वो प्रॉपरली सबको उन्होंने कुछ भी नहीं दिया है, किसी भी तरह का कोई प्रोटेक्शन नहीं दिया। सेकंड, जो 50 लाख का जो उनका इंश्योरेंस है, इसमें है कि कोविड-19 से ही डेथ होना चाहिए, और वो तब साबित होगा जब उसका मतलब पोस्टमार्टम हो या किसी तरह का टेस्ट हो। तो वो टेस्ट नहीं हुआ है, और कम्युनिटी में भी इतनी अवेयरनेस नहीं है। उनको लगता है कि लू से लग गई थी या हार्ट प्रॉब्लम हो गई थी। एक केस में तो आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर को चंडीगढ़ में भी ले गए थे मेडिकल कॉलेज में, और वहां पे उसका ट्रीटमेंट के दौरान उसकी डेथ हो गई, तो उसका कॉज ऑफ डेथ लिख के नहीं दिया, उसकी डेड बॉडी वापस कर दी। तो अभी तक किसी को नहीं मिला है, और इसमें ट्रीटमेंट का जो है पैसा नहीं है, इलाज का व्यवस्था नहीं है, ये मरने पर ही देने की व्यवस्था है।
Okay, thank you. Lakshmi and Wilson, would you also like to respond to that?
Yeah, so actually no insurance has been made available in Pune either, but we have been fighting with the municipality and LIC, and from what we understand, actually for waste pickers across India, no program has been started, because the LIC officer we are in touch with is hoping this can be the first. I agree entirely with Veena ji that we have to have insurance that covers not only COVID, because there are going to be a lot of comorbidity deaths which are not even tested at the end. I mean, there is no diagnosis, there's nothing given, they're not reporting the cause of death. Many deaths that are likely to be related to COVID, even if they are not COVID positive deaths, they are deaths that have arisen because members, waste pickers or workers could not access medical care because of the pressure of COVID. So all deaths need to be covered, absolutely. It is not currently available. Preventive is definitely not included in any case. Even when the insurance will be applicable, preventive will not be included, unfortunately. There's a lot of negotiation that's happening on, so LIC, everyone has actually appointed actuarial scientists to look at what will make it viable, because everyone is of course nervous about what the death rate is going to look like, particularly for vulnerable communities, and therefore they're trying to fix the premium, looking at broad demographics, age, trying to see if they can get some information from us on the comorbidity, because that's the basis on which they will insure. Also for waste pickers, like I said, in cities where there is a fairly decent database, one can at least argue for it. Where it is not there, the government is doing absolutely nothing, because even for a very basic insurance cover, you need to provide some decent amount of information, and unless there are organizations of workers, the government or the municipalities have done nothing to create their own databases. So it only works when workers are organized.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Yeah. regarding this insurance and all, that is the government's responsibility. Whether they want to insure or not, we are least bothered. The government has to pay to the labor, the employees, the compensation, whatever. And it can't be just limit only to the COVID-19 or during this time somebody died. It has to be for everybody forever. And because they are giving, they are the finally principal employer is, we can say that that is the local bodies or the municipalities, whoever. So premium municipality kaise denge, nahi dena, that they can have that kind of a link. The labor directly entering into the insurance premium and all, that will create a big problem. And it can't be an optional also. The municipalities has to compulsory and they have to do that. Otherwise it is not good. And minimum wages, all other things are also, there is not, it is not applicable in the contract labor. And the cities also, one city to another city, there is a disparity of the wages. And if you say that class 1 city, across the country, all class 1 cities must have the same common. That is not in the case of the sanitation worker. Whereas the other departments, it is there. So that also they have to work out. And there is no such one organization which can lead, because it is also, there are the contract labor, there are the contract labor with the contractor, contract labor with the municipalities. And there are the private, or there is a permanent. And the permanent labor who are working on the garbage and the solid waste management and other things and the liquid waste management. And there is a sweep. There are the different categories as such, and they are also principal employer is not one. It is different employers. So there is no such one clear cut that across the country, one organization can lead this. So we have to see that there are the many people across the country, whoever is working for the rights of the sanitation workers must have a common understanding what are the demands we are going to take it forward for 1 year and how it is giving the result in other places. That kind of a knowledge transfer and the sharing and the solidarity support, that is very much needed during this time. Otherwise the struggles will be very separately and isolation way. We cannot struggle with the mighty employers.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Lakshmi, would you like to respond? Because there was a question on the same thing. Like Rajendra Ravi says, क्या सफाई कर्मचारियों के बीच काम कर रहे संगठनों का कोई alliance है? So I know there are alliances across the country, within the state and all that. Would you like to throw more light on that?
Yes. So, like I said, even when I started speaking, there are many categories of waste workers, liquid waste, solid waste, like my colleagues just said. And there is an alliance of waste pickers, national level, even a global alliance of waste pickers. And our demands are definitely more for inclusion along different parameters. So the two clear ways in which waste pickers who otherwise have no relationship with the city. So typical waste picker in any country is a self-employed worker because they are collecting waste. They have no employer with whom they can even make a demand. So for a couple of decades, we have been organizing and trying to identify different kinds of potential employers. So for instance, KKPKP itself is registered as a trade union. Hasirudala is registered as a trust. There are around 38 organizations in India working with waste pickers, which have come together under an umbrella called Alliance of Indian Waste Pickers. The thing is that in most cities, waste pickers, like I said, don't even have a formal relationship with the city, because it is not as if anyone from the city is telling them to go and collect waste. It's only areas where they have got organized and there are some terms of arrangement with the municipality that such demands can be made. In many cities, the itinerant waste pickers have been displaced or further marginalized because there are contracts. And the municipality gets into a contract which is not with the waste pickers organization, because not everywhere is a waste pickers organization also able to actually step forward. And even where slightly sensitive bureaucrats have tried to engage with waste pickers and engage them directly, waste pickers are naturally going to be suspicious of bureaucracy. So it's not as if those models have worked very effectively either. Globally, the kind of position we push with waste pickers is that although waste picking in the form in which it happens, where waste pickers maybe scavenge for waste in landfills or in bins or on the streets is something that is definitely offensive to human sensitivities, and we don't encourage waste work like that. We strongly believe that there can be a case made for waste picking in an enhanced manner as waste management work, and that the waste picker should have the first rights over that work. And if the work and terms of conditions improve, it is really a kind of area, kind of decent livelihood. And waste pickers do want, of course, waste pickers want to work in that area. I agree with Wilson that in a context where choice is very limited, to ask someone, do you want to do this work, is ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. But the fact is, waste management and resource management actually does provide almost, let's say, 4 times the kind of employment that can be provided if one is looking at waste to energy or other mechanical forms of waste management and processing. So we do believe that there is room, and one should look at inclusive, safe, decent, green jobs that waste workers can be involved in, protect their rights, insist that the government, like, so in Pimpri-Chinchwad, we have a slightly different model where waste pickers are actually contracted by the municipality, and there we do fight and they do get minimum wages. The point is that waste pickers are definitely going to enjoy or prefer models where they have their own agency, like in the case of the Swachh model. Just having a contractor against whom you can fight and demand your right is not a very fulfilling kind of work. And and when we contrast the workers who work as contracted employees or even as municipal employees compared to workers of cooperatives who enjoy some autonomy, flexibility, agency, and can control the terms of their work a little more, there definitely seems to be a preference there. So it is a wide canvas. There is a range of kinds of workers, and groups are going to have to articulate their requirements, their demands of the government according to the specific sector. Even within the alliance, there are obviously differences. It's unfair for some of the bigger organizations to articulate very strong positions, because a lot of the smaller organizations will suffer if one takes a blanket position like that, because they might not even have workers registered, and they're completely invisible, and they'll be outside the purview of everything if one takes that. So a lot of these discussions are nuanced, and they do happen in the alliance context.
Thank you. So I have a question to Veena. Yeah, Veena. So given that ASHA workers and Anganwadi workers have played such a crucial role since the time the ICDS program was introduced, if it had not been for the ASHA workers, our maternal mortality rates would have been even worse than what it is today. And malnutrition in the country has been largely addressed by the Anganwadi workers. Since they play such a crucial role, but today they are at the margins, not receiving proper recognition, being dumped with a whole lot of other kind of work, and they don't even come under a full proper pay wages and things like that. What are those demands that we can make of the government now?
पहला है कि इनको मिनिमम वेज दिया जाए और इनको वर्कर का दर्जा दिया जाए। अभी ये सोशल वर्कर के रूप में ट्रीट किए जाते हैं और इनका कोई गाइडलाइंस नहीं है कि इनका अपॉइंटमेंट कैसे होगा, छुट्टी कैसे मिलेगी, कोई इस तरह का कोई रूल्स इनके नहीं है। तो क्या होता है कि जो इनके अधिकारी हैं वो सब इनको धमकाते रहते हैं और बहुत ज्यादा ये भ्रष्टाचार का शिकार होती है, हैरेसमेंट का शिकार होती है। कोई भी कह देता है हम तुम्हें हटवा देंगे। तो एक तो ये इनको सम्मानजनक जो डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर इनको इंश्योर करने के लिए ये जरूरी है कि इनको वर्कर माना जाए और इनको मिनिमम वेज दी जाए। और दूसरा है इसको सोशल सिक्योरिटी मिले। अभी क्या होता है कि आंगनवाड़ी में तो ये काफी 75 से चल रही है, तो काफी लोग रिटायरमेंट के नजदीक हैं या छोड़ रहे हैं, तो वो बेचारे जिंदगी भर मोहल्ले में बच्चों की सेवा करते रहे, लेकिन जो है अभी उनको आखिर में घर भेज देती है सरकार। तो कुछ ना कुछ उनको रिटायरमेंट बेनिफिट जो है वो देना चाहिए, और वो तभी देंगे जब वो वर्कर का उनको रिकॉग्निशन मिलेगा। तो पहला है कि इनको वर्कर का रिकॉग्निशन दे, मिनिमम वेज दे और सोशल सिक्योरिटी दे। सेकंड है वर्किंग कंडीशंस इनकी बहुत खराब है। आशा घर घर जाकर काम करती हैं और कोई ऐसी इतने 1000 की आबादी के से भी ज्यादा लोग हैं, कहा जाता है कि 1000 की आबादी पर है, तो वो कहीं बैठ के उनकी काम करने की व्यवस्था हो, वो इम्यूनाइजेशन के लिए इन सारी चीजों को वो नोट कर सकें, लोग उनसे संपर्क कर सकें, क्योंकि बहुत सारी बीमारियां अभी बरसात में जैसे आती हैं, तो उसका भी एक काम होता है उनकी मॉनिटरिंग का। थर्ड है हमारा कि आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स का भी जो वर्किंग कंडीशन बहुत खराब है, टॉयलेट्स नहीं है उनके सेंटर पे, वहां पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फैसिलिटी नहीं है, बच्चों के बैठने की व्यवस्था नहीं है, हॉट कुक जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश से दिया जाता है वो भी नहीं चलता है। साउथ के राज्यों को छोड़ दें तो हिंदी स्टेट्स में वहां पे खाना बनाने का कुछ प्रॉपर व्यवस्था नहीं है। यूपी में तो आज तक कोई व्यवस्था उन्होंने की ही नहीं है, और बल्कि जब से 3 साल से ये सरकार आई है हॉट कुक बिल्कुल बंद है। मानवाधिकार आयोग की भी एक जांच आई थी जो दबा दी गई। तो ये बेहद जरूरी है कि बच्चों के पोषण के लिए आंगनवाड़ी सेंटर को भी स्ट्रेंथन किया जाए और वर्कर को भी स्ट्रेंथन किया जाए। तो वर्किंग कंडीशन में भी इम्प्रूवमेंट की जरूरत है, और इनको डिग्निटी के साथ काम करने की के लिए ये बेहद जरूरी है कि इनको वर्कर और मिनिमम वेज जो है वो दोनों इंश्योर की जाए, और ये दोनों बहुत बहुत क्रूशियल रोल में है। और इस समय में एक क्या कहते हैं यूनिसेफ का भी एक डाटा आया है कि आने वाले समय में एक बहुत ज्यादा मोर्टेलिटी रेट और मोर्बिडिटी की स्थिति हम महिला और बच्चों में खास तौर से अपने रूरल एरिया में जो है वो देखने जा रहे हैं। इसलिए आंगनवाड़ी सेंटर में वो मजबूत किया जाए। और जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है बच्चों के बीच में, हमारी आंगन हम बहुत ये आवाज उठाते रहे हैं कि करीब 1 साल से ज्यादा हो गया सरकार ने कंपलसरी कर दिया कि जिन पे आधार है सिर्फ उनको ही जो थोड़ा बहुत आता है वो दिया जाए। ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, बहुत सारे बच्चों पे आधार नहीं है, बहुत सारे बच्चे वहां रहते हैं, और आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर को जान का खतरा तक हो जाता है कि वो 2 बच्चों को तो कुछ दे खाने के लिए और 2 बच्चों को ना दे। तो ये आधार वाला इशू भी बहुत जोर शोर से उठाने की जरूरत है।
Thank you. So Suhas says that your demand for providing nutrition and immunization to every child, including those of returning families, and for your transport are very important. He says, please write to us. That is the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan, and we will follow it up. So please
Sure.
make a note of that. And a related question that I had is also the Anganwadi conditions are really, really sad. From a study that I had done a few years back, Anganwadis were really broken down. The roofs were all falling off. There were no material for early learning, education material were not there. And in many of the situations, I found that it was the Anganwadi worker. It was because of her passion that she was, able to bring about so many of her own handmade stuff to teach children. In one case, I found that, she had collected a whole lot of tamarind seeds to teach children numbers, which I found it fascinating. So even in that context, there has not been enough funding for the Anganwadis. And now some CSR support has been helping. Would you like to add more to that?
Yes. ये समय आ गया है कि इसी पॉलिसी लागू की जाए, क्योंकि ये किसी पॉलिसी के तहत नहीं, एक प्रोजेक्ट की तरह अभी तक ये स्कीम चल रही है। इसे एक परमानेंट विभाग बनाया जाए और इसको स्थायी किया जाए। अब इसको स्कीम के कैटेगरी से निकाल करके आईसीडीएस को फुल प्रोग्राम बनाया जाए। सीएसआर से कोई बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट नहीं मिला है। इसके 2 चीजें हैं, एक तो सीएसआर जो अपना स्टाफ रखता है कॉर्पोरेट, वो बहुत हैरेसमेंट करते हैं आंगनबाड़ी का, क्योंकि वो इस व्यू के साथ ही जाते हैं जो एक सरकार में भी रहता है कि आंगनबाड़ी कुछ नहीं करती है। दूसरा है कि कई जगह पता चला कि जो सीएसआर के अपने प्रोडक्ट्स हैं वो बेचने के लिए वो आंगनबाड़ी का इस्तेमाल करते हैं कि, और उसकी पब्लिसिटी के लिए वो बात करते हैं कि भाई इसको आप पब्लिसिटी करें। हमने एक स्टडी भी कराई थी फेडरेशन से, उसमें भी यही आया कि सीएसआर ने वैसे देखने में थोड़ा सा सुंदर किया, सेंटर में कुछ खिलौने और इस तरह की चीजें दी, लेकिन लर्निंग में इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि उनके अपने अलग एजेंडा रहते हैं जिसके लिए वो आंगनबाड़ी के साथ में जाते हैं। तो ये तभी पॉसिबल है, सीएसआर से बिल्कुल काम नहीं चलेगा। सरकार पूरी फंडिंग इसके लिए दे, और इसके साथ जो जुड़ी हुई चीज है अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर की जो पॉलिसी है वो है क्रैश। तो क्रैश और आंगनवाड़ी सेंटर जो वर्कर्स की साइट्स है, नरेगा साइट्स पे बहुत कम है, इन साइट्स पे भी चलें और इनको फुल फंडिंग गवर्नमेंट करे और फुल सपोर्ट करे। और हम सबको मिलकर के जन स्वास्थ्य अभियान जैसे अभियान है जो और दूसरे अलायंस है मिलकर ये आवाज उठानी हो चाहिए, क्योंकि ये जो बच्चे हैं जिनके लिए ये वर्कर्स काम कर रहे हैं वो सारे सभी बच्चे हैं लगभग, ये नहीं कह सकते कि बहुत सारे कुछ अपर क्लास के बच्चे आप छोड़ दीजिए, बहुत पैसे वालों के, आम समाज के बच्चे हैं। दूसरा है कि ये वो बच्चे हैं जो मार्जिनलाइज्ड होते जा रहे हैं, जो उपेक्षित होते जा रहे हैं, जिनकी तरफ जो है कोई भी ध्यान नहीं दे रहा है, और यही हमारे देश का फ्यूचर है। तो मैं बस यही कहूंगी कि हमारे एक कवि ने कहा है कि देश जो है वो कागज पे बना नक्शा नहीं होता, तो ये भी बच्चे नक्शे पे या एक नंबर नहीं है, एक जीवंत एक रियलिटी है हमारे समाज की, और यही हमारे देश का फ्यूचर है। कोई भी अकेला सरवाइव नहीं कर सकता, हम सब के लिए कोविड का यही सबसे बड़ा संदेश है मेरे ख्याल में, कि कोई भी अकेला खुद नहीं बच सकता, सब बचेंगे तो हम बचेंगे। तो इन सारे बच्चों के लिए हमें आवाज उठानी चाहिए। साथ साथ वर्कर्स अगर फुल ठीक से पेड नहीं होंगे, उन्हें रेस्पेक्ट नहीं मिलेगा, वर्किंग कंडीशन उनकी ठीक नहीं होगी, तो वो काम नहीं कर पाएंगे। इसलिए ये दोनों चीजें बेहद जरूरी है।
Thank you. So as we come towards the last few minutes of this webinar, if we have to ask Lakshmi, what would be those demands that we can ask the government and all authorities, the different concerned authorities, what would they be as part of this?
In the case of waste workers, I am going to have to say that it has to be nuanced, but with waste workers, the very first requirement is going to be mapping, registration and enumeration, because waste pickers across cities are not even registered in any form. So without even giving them the very first legitimacy as workers, one can't move forward. Unlike even domestic help who do have an employer, unlike sanitation workers who have a difficult and problematic and exploitative employer, there is still an employer. With waste pickers, in most cities, there is no employer. So mapping, enumeration, registration, not only of waste pickers, but of the entire recycling pyramid. So including scrap traders, wholesalers, recyclers, and then ensuring that there is room for all the stakeholders from the waste picker to the reprocessor to get formalized on their terms with some engagement. So you cannot just have formalization, which is introducing the ceiling and putting terms and conditions without ensuring basic protective, very, very basic institutional support for them. So, but unfortunately, where we are now, without starting with registration, it's not going to go further. So registration, ensuring that they have their identity recognized, and then that municipalities offer them terms of inclusion within solid waste management. Otherwise, they're all just going to get displaced very soon. Once that happens, finding ways for the recycling sector to get formalized and be recognized as part of the solid waste management system, not as something that is working in isolation or parallel with absolutely no support. So without that happening, the kinds of recycling rates we have in our country are going to go down. We do actually recycle much, much more than many European countries also. It just happens in ways that are not very desirable, either from the worker point of view or from the environmental point of view. So strengthening that sector is critical, and that can only happen after we first invest in registering and mapping them, for which many of us are arguing both with the states and the center.
Would you also say that pushing for segregation and composting at the household level is another big thing that we need to do as civil society?
So we do absolutely need to do it. The problem that happens in many cities where segregation is enforced with civil society without measures in place to ensure segregated waste is collected, without having a way to respect the integrity of segregated streams in your waste collection system. Citizens tire of it. They say that I segregate my waste, but the person who comes to my door is mixing the waste again. So unless one can ensure that collection mechanisms of cities also respect that integrity of the segregated streams, and that the segregated dry waste does actually go for recycling. Otherwise, in many places, cities are actually investing much more, and this is not only true of India. Cities are investing much more in separate streams of collection, but it is all going to the same place. So they're actually spending much, much more on transport and labor, and increasing the carbon footprint of their waste management system without ensuring sufficient recycling. So yes, definitely segregation is important, but it comes in a particular context. Once the blueprint of solid waste management is better defined, it's good to introduce segregation.
So another closing comment on that context. So do you think if composting can be pushed and we can connect that with some kind of urban level farming, either terrace farming, balcony farming, so on and so forth. So we will be opening a slightly new window everywhere and making something more innovative possible, also leading towards some kind of food security. Do you think those kind of things are possible, and has it been tried anywhere?
So yes, they are very much possible. At small scale, they have been tried, definitely, with very, very, very pleasing kind of outcomes. The point is to take it to scale. To take it to scale and get the government to invest. So we are also arguing that the municipality has to invest in composting infrastructure. When the government invests in waste to energy, even if it claims it is BOT, it is actually giving free land, it is giving transported waste, raw material at the doorstep, it's giving electricity, and it's giving a tipping fee. So the government is supporting waste to energy indirectly by allowing industry to externalize its costs to a significant measure, whereas the recycling industry is taxed at every point. It's very difficult for it to survive unless incentives are given and unless robust, financially fair, transparent mechanisms, including APR, where producers have to be pushed to take the cost of the material that they are creating, which is impossible to recycle. So let them look at alternative materials, or let them look at paying the viability gap funding to ensure that recycling happens. But if all this happens and the government is willing and able and can be convinced to actually invest in this infrastructure, in more decentralized infrastructure, if municipalities actually were to give a compost bin, a composter free to every single citizen, it's going to cost, even if only 30% of the citizens end up using it, it's still going to result in significant reduction of waste going to the landfill. And it can actually start like Kerala has tried. And it can actually start in investing in these processes, even if initially the costs, the outgoings are going to be higher. So yes, definitely there's room for a lot of innovation in that. And there have also been success stories, but the trick, the challenge is to take it to scale.
Okay. Thank you, Lakshmi. It was a very informative session. And some closing thoughts from Veena. Veena ji, would you had something to say?
आपके ये इसका एजेंडा नहीं था, इसलिए मैंने शुरू में नहीं कहा, लेकिन मैं आप लोगों के ध्यान में दिलाना चाहती हूँ, एक और वर्कर है, हेल्थ वर्कर और सफाई कर्मियों के अलावा जिन्होंने बहुत काम किया, वो हैं हमारे मिड डे मील में खाना बनाने वाले रसोइया। गांव-गांव में जितने लोग क्वारंटीन हुए थे, उन सबको खाना बना के ये लोग दे रहे थे। तो ये भी बहुत ही ना तो ट्रेंड थे और डायरेक्ट उन लोगों के संपर्क में थे जो संक्रमित हो सकते हैं, जो बाहर से आए थे। तो मैं बस आपसे अनुरोध करूंगी कि आगे आप इनको भी अपने मतलब कंसर्न में रखें। ये अभी तक अनसीन है, अभी तक इनके बारे में बात नहीं हो रही है। मैंने कई बार ये चीज उठाई, तो आपके भी ये कहना चाहती थी। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much. Zarur, we will take it up and make a note of it. So thanks everyone for that very, very informative, rich understanding of what's happening to our frontline workers. I'm sorry that Mr. Wilson could not stay with us for very long, but we can completely understand given the situation that he might be under with all that is happening in and around us. So on behalf of CFA and all other coordinating partners, I extend a very big thank you to all our speakers today, Lakshmi, Veena, Mr. Wilson, and also Rince Joseph, who spoke earlier. So kindly keep in touch with us. Our next session is on June 9th, and it's another very interesting topic. It is about urban livelihoods. We have Professor Ritu Diwan, then Anita Das from the Hawkers Federation, and Vijay Anand from who's the former Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, will be the speakers, and the session will be moderated by Mr. K.T. Suresh. So thank you once again, and hoping to see you soon on June 9th. Thank you very much. Have a good day.